The most expensive lie you'll ever believe costs nothing to tell. You whisper it to yourself so often, it stopped sounding like a lie years ago. It sounds like "I'm fine," or "next month," or "that's just who I am." By the end of this, you'll recognize the exact lies running your life, and you'll understand why your brain fights so hard to protect them. Here's what makes self-deception different from regular dishonesty. When someone else lies to you, there's a gap between their words and your gut feeling. A flicker of doubt, a second opinion you can seek out. When you lie to yourself, the liar and the believer share the same skull. There's no gap. The lie feels identical to the truth because the person verifying it is the same person who invented it. And your brain is terrifyingly good at this. Think about the last time you said, "I already know that," about a piece of advice you'd never actually followed. Knowing and doing occupy completely different territories. You've read about exercise, sleep, saving money, having hard conversations. The knowledge sits in your head like furniture in a locked room. You own it. You walk past the door every day. You never go in. But because you could, because the key is right there in your pocket, you tell yourself it counts. That's the first category of self-deception, mistaking awareness for action. The lie is so comfortable because it's technically half true. You do know that half-truth becomes a full excuse. So what's actually keeping you on the wrong side of that locked door? The answer lives in something psychologists call identity protection. Your brain doesn't just process information, it curates it. Every fact, every experience, every piece of feedback passes through a filter. And that filter has one job: keep your current self-image intact. A study at Stanford found that when people were shown evidence directly contradicting their beliefs, the regions associated with physical pain activated. Your brain processes a threat to your identity the same way it processes a threat to your body. The lie? "I'm already doing enough. It's everyone else's fault. I'll start when the timing is right," acts as a painkiller. And painkillers feel like medicine. That's the trap. You've watched someone close to you stay in a situation that was obviously wrong. A dead-end job, a relationship that drained them, a habit that was visibly shrinking their life. And you wondered, how can they not see it? You could see it from across the room. The answer is that they could see it too. Somewhere beneath the layers of justification, they knew. Self-deception rarely involves genuine ignorance. It involves a kind of negotiated blindness, a treaty between the part of you that sees the truth and the part of you that has decided the truth is too expensive to act on right now. That treaty has a cost, and the interest compounds daily. Consider a man named Jerry, a real person who shared his story in a recovery group in Ohio. Jerry spent 11 years telling himself he was a social drinker. His wife told him otherwise. His doctor told him otherwise. His hands shook at 9 a.m. on Tuesdays. He had an answer for every piece of evidence. "I work hard. I deserve to unwind." She exaggerates. "It's cold. That's why my hands shake." Each lie was small enough to swallow. Stacked together, they built a wall so high he couldn't see over it anymore. When he finally got sober, he said something that stuck with the group. "The drinking wasn't the hard part to quit. The story I told myself about the drinking, that took longer to put down." Jerry's wall was made of alcohol. Yours might be made of something quieter. Procrastination. People-pleasing. The belief that your potential is a permanent feature rather than a perishable one. That it'll wait for you indefinitely while you run out the clock on another comfortable year. So why doesn't logic work? Why can't you just reason your way out of your own lies? Because the lies aren't logical. They're structural. They're load-bearing walls in the architecture of your daily life. Pull one out and the ceiling feels like it might come down. Tell yourself the truth about your career and you might have to quit. Tell yourself the truth about your relationship and you might have to leave. Tell yourself the truth about how you spend your evenings and you might have to sit alone in a quiet room with the person you've been avoiding, yourself. The quiet room is where self-deception goes to die and almost nobody volunteers to walk in. But some people do. And the pattern among them is worth studying. The people who break through their own lies almost never do it through a single dramatic revelation. No lightning bolt. No rock-bottom moment. Instead, they create small, repeatable collisions with reality. A journal entry every night that answers one question honestly. What did I pretend not to know today? A weekly conversation with someone who has explicit permission to call them out. A habit of writing down predictions. I think this will happen, and then checking them against what actually happened. Over months, these collisions erode the lie the way water erodes stone. Slowly, and then all at once the landscape looks different. The journal trick works because it separates the liar from the believer by a few hours. You, at 11 p.m., pen in hand, can evaluate what you at 2 p.m. claim to believe. That gap, tiny as it is, introduces a witness. Self-deception can survive in a room with one person. It struggles in a room with two, even when both of them are you at different times of day. Now, a fair objection. Some self-deception is protective. If you've experienced trauma, grief, or circumstances that are genuinely beyond your control, the stories you told yourself to survive those periods served a real function. They were scaffolding. And scaffolding is only a problem when the building is done and the scaffolding stays up, blocking the windows, keeping the light out. Recognizing which lies are expired scaffolding and which are still holding something fragile together. That takes honesty and sometimes professional help. Willpower alone doesn't untangle everything. Some knots need a second pair of hands. What you can do, starting now, is audit the one lie that costs you the most. You already know which one it is. You felt it surface while you were listening to this. Maybe it's "I don't have time," when the truth is you've chosen not to make time. Maybe it's "I'm not ready," when the truth is you're ready enough, and the gap between ready enough and perfectly ready is where dreams go to collect dust. Maybe it's "people like me don't get to do that," when the evidence, the actual evidence, not the feeling, says otherwise. The lie persists because challenging it means entering that quiet room, and the quiet room asks questions that sting. How long have you known? What has this cost you? Who did you fail to become while you were busy believing the comfortable version? Those questions feel like punishment. Actually, no. Let me correct that. Those questions feel like surgery. The pain is real, but the purpose is removal. You're cutting out something that's been growing in the dark, feeding on your avoidance, getting heavier every year you carry it without examining it. Jerry spent 11 years shaking at 9 a.m. before he put the story down. You've been carrying yours for however long you've been carrying it. The weight is so familiar it feels like part of your body now. It feels like your skeleton. So when someone suggests you set it down, your first instinct is, "I can't. I'd collapse." You won't collapse. You're way less. And for the first time in longer than you can remember, you'll stand at your actual height. The quiet room is still there. The door was never locked. You just told yourself it was. And that might be the oldest lie of all.